Matthew. Some fell upon stony places. Mark says, and some fell on stony ground. Luke says, and some fell upon a rock. So stony is much more descriptive than just a rock. Well, I guess it makes more sense. If you're putting seed on a rock, it's definitely not going to grow. If it's stony, there may be some soil, but the point is the stone. The point is the rock. So maybe it fell upon a rock. A rock. Stony ground. I'm leaning towards stony ground because, first off, stony is used in Matthew and Mark. But really, the important part is the kind of soil, the ground, because in, I think, Jeremiah, it says God is giving these directions to the people. You need to break up your fallow ground. And that is a symbol used to explain how you need to prepare yourself. You need to almost force yourself to leave your old habits and turn towards God and just break away from your old habits. Break up your fallow ground. So the point is the soil, the point is the ground. I don't want to just say the seed fell on a rock. It fell on this type of soil, which was stony ground. And because of that, it's much better to say stony ground than just stony places. So I'm going to go with that. So some fell upon, and some fell on, Mark, and some fell upon. So I'll say upon because it's both. And I'll say and from Mark and Luke. It says dark yellow. Some fell is all three. I'll say upon is all three. The up part is Matthew and Luke, up, and the on part of the word is all three. Upon. Stony is Matthew, Mark, and ground is only Mark. Luke says a rock, and as soon as it was sprung up, Mark, where it had not much earth. That's important. I might have to put that. Matthew says where they had not much earth. Okay, so I'm definitely going to put that. Where they had not much earth, or where it had not much earth. I know I'm already going to go with it because seed is singular, but where is both Matthew, Mark, now Mark only, it, now both, had not much earth, and immediately they sprung up because they had no deepness of earth. Mark, and immediately it sprang up because it had no depth of earth. Luke, and as soon as it sprung up, it withered away because it lacked moisture. So, is it springing up because there's no depth of earth, which would be implied by Matthew, Mark? It seems like from Matthew, Mark, it's saying more. They sprung up because they had no deepness of earth. Because it had no depth of earth. But when the sun was up, it was scorched. And because it had no root, it withered away. Luke, and as soon as it was sprung up, no reason why it sprung up, just following the regular course of seeds, it withered away because it lacked moisture. So I'm going to go with what is said in Matthew, Mark, more description there. And immediately they sprung up. Mark, and immediately it sprung up. So I'm going to go with it. Luke, and as soon as it was sprung up, it withered away. I can combine those words. Do I have to put them separate? I don't think so. But when the sun was up, it was scorched. Okay, and when the sun was up. So yeah, this sentence from Luke I'm going to combine. As soon as it was. So as soon as, I'm going to replace with immediately. As soon as it was sprung up. I don't see how the lack of soil would make this seed immediately spring up. Let me look it up. If it's not that way, I don't want to have it that way. I'd rather go with what it says in Luke. Immediately when it was sprung up, it withered away. Instead of because it had no depth of soil. Would that be putting my own interpretation on it? I mean, I have the option between the two ways of saying it. I don't understand how that would make sense in a real life application either, because this is obviously referring to people. If people don't have true understanding, if they're not well grounded, if they don't have that strong root like a plant, like a seed, when people act and try and do ministry or just obey, not having a foundation, I don't understand how that would get someone to act right away. You'd think that not having a true foundation, a good understanding or a good belief would make you not want to act right away, that you would just do nothing. I couldn't see much when looking up any information about gardening, but I did look at the commentaries of this verse, and in Matthew and Mark there is one commentary by Gill. He actually said yes, because the earth was so short, the plant didn't have the opportunity to go as deep with its roots, and therefore it sprung up more quickly, because there would have been more time for the roots to grow deeper before it sprung up. That's pretty much all I needed. I'll go with that. Matthew, and immediately they sprung up because they had no deepness of earth. So I'll combine Luke with this. And as soon as it was. And immediately they sprung up. So I'll say this and is from all three, because instead of as soon as, it's immediately. And now Matthew, Mark, immediately they sprung up. It was sprung up, not it. The seed didn't spring up, the shoots sprung up. Immediately they sprung up, or Mark, and immediately it sprang up. Should I stick with it again? So his seed, it was trodden down, devoured it up, stony ground where it had not much earth, and immediately, yeah, I guess I should still go with it. It is in Mark. It was sprung up. It withered. So yeah, it is Mark and Luke. It sprung up is in Luke. Mark sprang up. I'm not going to say that's the same word. Immediately they sprung up. Immediately they sprung up. Immediately it sprung up. I think you could go with either it sprung up or it sprang up. I'm going to go with Matthew and Luke though, sprung, because it's used twice. Yeah, instead of Mark, it sprang up. Matthew, Luke sprung up. All three. Immediately it sprung up. Because it. Because they. Because is Matthew, Mark. Because then it. Because it had no depth of earth. Because they had no deepness of earth. Was sprung up. It would, yes. So this is only Mark. It, because it had no depth of earth, or had no deepness of earth. Nowadays, depth definitely makes more sense, so I'm going to go with that. Depth and of earth is both Matthew and Mark. Matthew has, and when the sun was up. Luke is not really saying the same thing. Mark says, but when the sun was up. Yeah, that fits better. But when the sun... It may have sprung up, so you may think that's really good. Sprung up real quickly. But this is the however situation, so I'm going to go with but when the sun was up. But when the sun was up, Mark, it was scorched. They were scorched. And because they had no root, they withered away. Okay. So, withered away is in Luke. In Luke it has another explanation, because it lacked moisture. So maybe I could put because they had no root and lacked moisture, they withered away. Maybe I can move that and. Well, the and comes before they had no root, so maybe I could put and because it had no root, it withered. There's no and here in Luke. So maybe I could say because it lacked moisture and it had no root, it withered away from all three. But when the sun was up, they were scorched. It was scorched. I'm already saying it. I'm going to go with it from Mark, and then from both was scorched. Now I'm going to go with what it says in Luke, because it lacked moisture. And now I'm going to go back to Matthew and Mark to have the and because they had no root. Both because they had no root. Because they had no root. Because it. I'm still going to go with it from Mark. Had no root. It withered away. They withered away. Luke, it withered away. So it is Mark and Luke. It, and then all three withered away. When Jesus is speaking about the seeds that fell on stony ground, the end result was that when the sun was up, it was scorched because it lacked moisture and had no root. However, saying first that it lacked moisture doesn't quite make sense, because lacking moisture is a result of having no root, because that's how a plant gets water from the ground. It sucks it in and lifts it up into the rest of the plant and out to the leaves. So I think I want to change this around to say because it had no root and lacked moisture. That way you know the cause is that it has no root, which results in lacking moisture, which then leads to it withering away. Because is all three. It was Luke and Mark, so that's dark yellow. I'm just going to move had no root and put that right here. Because it had no root and lacked moisture, it withered away. Yeah, that's better. Another small change, instead of just saying, but when the sun was up, it was scorched, because it had no root and lacked moisture, it withered away. Yes, you could say it was scorched because of these things and withered away. Or I could leave it as it says in Matthew and Mark. It was scorched, and because of these things, it withered away. And that's closer to what is said in Matthew. Were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. Luke is a bit different, so I'll just leave that how it is. But it reads better this way. It's more original. It was scorched, and because it had no root. And then I'll have one of those ands, because it's both in Matthew and Mark. I'll move that after so that I can add the and lacked moisture from Luke. It's more accurate to what the Bible actually says than how I had it. So this is better, and I just wanted to mention that.